I used to vacation there as a little kid all the time. I'm kind of envious every year when he goes over there to cover for us the ACC meetings, the first of the get-togethers, if you will. It's not the same as ACC kickoff, obviously, which is later on this summer when we all go to Charlotte, and we'll do that again. But these meetings where the athletic directors get together, and it's all the sports, and it's time to sit down and talk about some things to put on the agenda, some talking items. Ira's over there covering that at Amelia Island. Will be for the next 3 days. He'll join us in the second hour. The reason it's important, obviously, is these things have been elevated. In the past, you take kind of a cursory glance at what was happening over there, and all right, ho-hum, here's a talking point. Rules change. They're doing something different with basketball. Tennis wants this, whatever. Now it's every one of these things becomes an opportunity for Florida State's athletic director, Michael Alford, to tell the league that Florida State's unhappy with the financial arrangement, that Florida State is unhappy with the way that monies are doled out throughout the ACC. And, I don't know that anything will be solved whatsoever. In fact, how about this? I do know nothing will be solved whatsoever at these meetings regarding compensation to the university. They're not suddenly at this meeting in Amelia Island going to go, you know what? You're right. We're quadrupling what we give you in Clemson. Our bad all along. We recognize the error of our ways. Let's move forward with a new agreement. Everybody cool with that? Florida State and Clemson get 4 to 5 times more than the rest of us. Everybody good? That ain't going to happen. But it is a chance for for athletic director Alford to say, hey, man, this is not going to get it done. We're not going away. Our requests continue to be that things have to change. I don't know at the end of the day, is this an effort? Tom, I would ask you this just out of curiosity. I'll ask Ira this when he comes on. Is this the squeaky, wheel gets the grease or whatever it is? I mean, is this what are we just going to continue to bitch and bitch and bitch until it becomes untenable? And they're like, we can't, there's no helping Florida State. They're just furious. Why don't we present a number? Why don't we give them a number so that they can take it on down the road? I'm tired of these meetings.
I think that's potentially one outcome, which we would all be okay with.
Yeah.
I think even the university brass would be okay with if there was a number disclosed. Then it becomes, how do we get to the number? How do we arrive to where we can create the settlement and space it out over time? I think the other potential benefit would be you are proving in front of the Pen and Mic Club, in front of cameras and there's an official transcript of what you said, that you have exhausted all options. In case this does go to a prolonged legal battle, you can show that you have had displeasure that has been communicated both behind the scenes and then publicly. We have been saying this for years, in short.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that helps you at all in a legal battle. Maybe in a civil court it would, maybe not. But I think that, you're trying to be the squeaky wheel to get whatever you can, to also piss off the people who are saying, all right, you know what? You want to go? Just leave. And then also perhaps there's a benefit in the legal realm if it gets to that down the line, which I think everybody's trying to avoid. The reason we haven't done it yet is because we don't want to go to court when we don't know the parameters by which we could win or lose.
Well, all right. You go back, and I would invite everybody to go over to warchant.com. And if you do, you'll see there is a story written by the aforementioned Ira Schafel, managing editor at warchant.com. Florida State intends to turn up heat for greater revenue at ACC spring meetings this week. That's the headline. Now, if you click on that story and you read it, it does go back and it recaps how this got started. Second-year athletic director Michael Alford saying, look, man, we're not backing down this go-around. It goes back and it documented the Board of Trustees, the FSU Board of Trustees meeting that was on YouTube that everybody saw that created quite a stir, at least in the world of college athletics, big-time college football, because that's when the whole country got wind of how uncomfortable and angry and frustrated and the amount of displeasure Florida State was feeling about the current arrangement. And also it projected bigger problems down the line. It was something that portends of today's meeting and others in the future, including the ACC kickoff that will attend, because it's going to be echoed there from the stage repeatedly, I would think. This has become now the main talking point for Mike Alford and all of those associated with Florida State, whether that is in front of the camera or behind the camera. This is what they talk about now. It is going to be the central theme of any discussion related to Florida State and the ACC. That theme being, we're not happy here. We hate this arrangement. It's not fair. We're more valuable than all of you put together. You know it and I know it. What are you going to do about it? And I think what's also going to be the norm is them, without saying it, saying nothing. We're going to do nothing about it because you can't do anything. We're going to sit here and wait it out until they don't. And we don't know when that is. And that makes it all the more uncomfortable because you're in limbo. And every year that goes by is another year that you fall further behind. We fall behind to the SEC and the Big Ten. It's more important in the SEC because that is in the footprint of where it is you recruit. And when you lose out on opportunities because they all have better facilities and better coaches because they can pay them more and invest more, then you are going to fall further and further behind every year that this goes on.
Yeah, there's a couple of ways you can go here in getting out of this arrangement. Number one is finding a settlement fee and coming to an agreement on a settlement fee. That clearly has not happened yet. And if it did, we wouldn't know it because it's not a good enough number for us. It's not reachable. So either one of those two things, if the settlement fee was there and we like the number, this would already have happened. The other way to get out of it is you have enough votes to disband the conference. And I don't think those middle tier institutions in this conference yet have a better option than staying put in the ACC. But that might change. That could change. Maybe if whatever the Big 12 is going to call itself, maybe it'll stay the Big 12. But as they're adding on a bunch of Group of 5 schools like UCF, among others, if you can prove to the Louisvilles of the world and maybe a few others in that tier of the ACC that it is financially in your best interest to cut bait now and go latch on to the Big 12 and get those new TV deals because they're going to renew their agreement before ours is even up.
Yeah, 2030, 2031.
Maybe at that point you can amass the votes because Clemson already is with us. We know that. So we got one.
We think
North Carolina would be with us. That's 2. You need to get to what? 7, 8 teams?
Yeah, I think it's 8. By the way, yes, North Carolina's with you. Yes, Clemson is with you. So you have 3 there. One would presume Miami is with you. That is 4. I think Virginia would want to go to the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Some degree. I think the Big Ten would want North Carolina as well, and maybe Miami.
Sure.
But anyhow, so
who cares?
It doesn't really matter.
As long as they want to go,
yeah,
that's a yes.
All right. So Virginia, North Carolina, Miami, Clemson, Florida State. I would throw in there Louisville for sure.
Yeah.
NC State for sure. Now it gets interesting. Virginia Tech seems to be a prime candidate in that situation.
Pitt would be valuable as well.
I think
to some other conference. If it was the Big 12, you could reestablish West Virginia and Pitt.
Yeah. So you're trying to get to a number where perhaps you could dissolve the conference and there's enough there for you. And you got to continue to hope that there's enough interest, whether it's the Big 10, Big 12, SEC. Now, I can tell you this. I spoke with Andy Staples the other day, and we talked a lot about this. I know he has since come up and interviewed the coaches and Mike Alford here in Tallahassee. One of the things, without getting into too many details, and I certainly don't want to sell him down the river, but he is certainly in tune and connected to the SEC.
Not like he would sell you down the river calling plays in the spring.
Here we go. Yeah. Anyhow, when we talked, we talked a lot about this situation. And one of the things that he noted, and this is not sensitive information. One of the things that he's noted that he's been told by people in the SEC, and I would presume that is athletic directors, is that, yeah, there's keen interest in Florida State and Clemson and North Carolina and probably Virginia. Absolutely there is. But the conference understands that they cannot be seen as having to tamper with or caught doing anything like this behind the scenes because they don't want to get sued. And they know that is exactly what the ACC is waiting to do, catch either the Big Ten or the SEC tampering with members of their conference to try to arrange a deal behind the scenes through a go-between of some kind. And if they could prove that, you could sue for hundreds of millions of dollars. And no conference wants any part of that litigation. They don't want any part of that. They don't want to lose the money, and they also don't want to get caught up in the courts.
That would track. That just kind of makes sense because of the Texas-Oklahoma situation, the USC-UCLA situation.
Mm-hmm.
that now everybody's antennae are up.
Oh, they're all like, oh, well,
Yeah.
who else you coming for? Yes, they now know that their conference, not named the Big Ten or the SEC, is there to be rated by the Big Two. They know this. And so yes, they know it. Well, listen, Florida State's made it abundantly clear that they're open to the idea. They'd like to listen to these other conferences, in particular the SEC and the Big Ten, about potential offers. But that can never be found out. That can never be tracked. That could never be something that could, you can't have that be in a situation where it's provable, because at that point you're going to court. It's hundreds of millions of dollars, and they want no part of that. So in essence, what I've been told is that however it would get done, we all know how these things work, we'd love to have you. I can't tell you that we'd love to have you, but we'd love to have you. Just understand, we're not going out to dinner if you're still married. It just ain't happening. That's just never going to happen. You need to be officially divorced. You need to be free and clear. There has to be, the papers are signed.
Well,
you're
yeah.
out the door.
Yeah, that's the thing that's across the board here, whether you're talking about Florida State or Clemson or a different conference. Nobody wants to go to court.
No.
Everybody is trying to pay as little as they have to in order to avoid court so they can move on. That's what's really going on here. And there's going to be grandstanding and posturing across the board within the ACC. And I wonder how much is going to happen at Amelia. That's what's interesting to me when they do these breakouts. This isn't a regimented event like the kickoff in Charlotte, in which it's like, all right, here's the commissioner's forum for 45 minutes. It's 30 minutes for him to speak, 15-minute questions. And then here are your 5 teams for the day. It's not like that at all. It's, do I feel like stopping and talking to these dudes that are outside the ballroom or not?
Right.
Or ladies. And so I wonder if officials from Florida State or Jim Phillips himself or maybe some other athletic directors, like Swarbrick said something ridiculous last year about, the monies, and he's at an ACC event and he's just kind of like LeBron to the people of Cleveland during the decision.
It's just peeing on them.
Right, exactly. So I just wonder who that person is going to be and how many of them there are going to be, because this to me feels like the era of the grandstanding before things actually get done.
Yeah, and Live Spectator, let me address this. We're all well aware that the grant of rights provision is that teams cannot just go and jump to another conference. That money, TV revenue, that they would then earn from, say, the SEC, since we're using that example, would all go to the ACC. We're talking about a negotiation and a discussion that would see them not just buy their way out of the ACC, but the grant of rights. That we're talking. That's why the number goes from 100 million to 500 to 600 to 700 million. It'd have to be an agreed upon thing.
Yeah.
Yes, we're letting you out from under this incredibly restrictive contract. You are free to leave for this price.
They laid it out very clearly at the Board of Trustees meeting, almost like they rehearsed it. Word for word. I'm not sure. But it was, what's the price for 3 years for the buyout of the ACC? And they said it's 100 million, 120 million, whatever it was. And nobody blinked. They're like, yeah, all right, that's fine. But what about this next level for the grant of rights?
Mm-hmm.
So the actual buyout, if you want to get really contractually technical, the actual buyout's cheap by the standards of doing business. Cheap. But it's that GOR. It's that tack on.
That's the whole thing.
And what is that amount?
Yeah, nobody gives a damn about the minuscule amount when we're talking about big-time college football and the revenues to be made that it takes to get out of the ACC. It's the grant of rights. That's the whole thing. Is there a number? Is there a magical number out there? Is there a number where the ACC goes, we're going to lose them anyhow? It's a little bit like free agency. We've had this discussion.
Yeah.
If you're a free agent ball player in a market like, I don't know, Pittsburgh, and there you are kicking ass, and your name is Garrett Cole. And the Pirates go, yeah, man, it was cool. We drafted you. We developed you in the minor leagues. You've gone on to be a superstar, and we have zero chance of signing you because we're cheap, and we know you're going to go make $280 million. All right, well, we're 3 years out from that. We're 2 years out from that. You better make a deal while you have some leverage to get something back in return. And that's what you have to hope, that the ACC and the powers that be are like, we're going to lose Florida State. We're going to lose Clemson. This is where this is headed. Let's get a lot of money up front from them before we do.
Which is why I thought once the Texas-Oklahoma buyout provision was public knowledge and how that money was dispersed to the Big 12 or will be in the future dispersed to the Big 12, I thought, okay, this is effectively over. It's a countdown clock. We know you're not going to make it all the way to 2036 in the ACC. Florida State will not. It's going to be very inexpensive to buy your way out well before 2036. But how soon? How soon?
Yeah, this
That's
is the
thing.
Yeah, this is the problem, though, Tom. I agree with you. I don't know if we would agree on exactly when these things meet, but I would say it's 2023. We are a long ways off from 2036. Even if they tell you, in a perfect world, okay, 2028, you probably have a number that's reasonable for all involved. And that's too long. It's too long. You cannot be in this conference starting this next year for too much longer. It's 30 million per that you're falling behind every year you do.
I agree.
You can't do it.
That's why I think it's 26 is that outer limit, because that is a 10-year window to the end of the contract, roughly speaking. You saw the precedent was set by Texas and OU at $50 million for the year. So I think at $500 million all in, I think we could do it, and we could swing that deal because it's against future payouts. It's against future earnings. So I think they could do that, but I don't think that number's there right now. I think it's got to be higher.
It must be, because $500 million, I mean, if we're being really honest about this, and you're out from under the grant of rights, meaning you get to keep what's coming to you when you join the SEC or the Big Ten, is not a lot of money. Not because you're going to finance it for 30 years. So you'll be upside down for 10, and then you're rich. Universities borrow hundreds of millions of dollars from the state all the time. I mean, there you go. Just do it. It's not unprecedented. Borrow, finance it, 30 years, 500 million. We're going to be swimming in cash by the time we get to the 10-year mark. So I don't know. I just think if that were the number, if it were even close to that, I mean, it seems to me it would be way off, or we'd be hearing a greater whisper, a more consistent conversation.
I'm thinking that's where at 10 years out from the contract expiring in 2036, I think that's when it gets to that number. The question is, could you say, you want the money now or later? Because we could give that money to you now so you could get started on your next venture, ACC. We're not walking together till death do us part. It's not happening. So do you want the money now, or do you want to make that agreement now, or do you want to do it in 3 years from now?
Yeah, but if they say, well, we want to do it 3 or 4 years from now.
You say, damn it. You say, damn it, man.
No, it's not tenable. It's not good. Then you're 90 million in the hole. No, I don't know the answer.
Well, it's not about, they're not going to set up a payment system based upon eyes on sets. We know they're not going to do that, because for the same reason, they'll look at you and say, yeah, so you want a greater share of the pie now so you can pay off the debt when you want to leave us?
You just get,
Based on paying you more money to leave me sooner. No, not doing it.
Do that. It will be fascinating, but it also is very, very interesting. I mean, these meetings, like I said, used to be, who cares? Maybe we'd get a new rule change, or they would agree upon something relatively minor. There was a little time there where you'd maybe get some insight as to how soon the network was going to get created. Yeah. There was a time there where I would be like, looks like they're going to start the network next year or whatever. But,
yeah, I think they doing away with divisions. The 5-3-3 was the big headline.
Yeah, that was
so it's usually procedural.
Now we're really smack dab in the middle of a fierce battle between those that seek to matter and continue to play big time college football and join what in essence is a semi-pro league with super conferences, and those that don't care to be a part of that, who say that is not our design, our belief, this is never what we wanted. And there's nothing wrong with that either. I mean, if you're Wake Forest or somebody like that, a really small institution, they've done, probably in fairness to them, better than they have a right to given the enrollment. I mean, you might opt out. You might say that's never been our command. That's never been our charge. We've never, I mean, it's nice. We understand the importance of a football program, and we'd like not to suck, but we're not all in the way that Clemson's in. We're not all in by the way the SEC is in with Alabama and Georgia and teams like that. We're not ever going to do that. It's not who we are. We know we can't compete on that level. We're going to go ahead and take it on over here and be part of that group that's not part of the massive semi-pro league you're discussing basically starting now. But we are part of that group. We are part of that group that wants in. We anteed up a long time ago. I talked about this. When you added on and did what you did to the erector set, which is what we called Doe Campbell back in the day, and you had it become one of the great facades in all of college football and up over 80,000 people, and you were beginning to pay competitive prices for coaches, you told everybody you cared very deeply about playing big-time, massive games in college football's elite of the elite. We're in that group. Clemson's in that group. Precious few are in this conference. It makes it very untenable.
Remember the scheduling alliance with the Big Ten and the Pac-12? Remember that?
Yeah. What was it called again?
It was the Alliance.
It was the Alliance.
Yeah. Well, now the Big Ten is mulling over isolationism and going to non-conference games and removing the Power 5 out-of-conference opponent rule. I'm assuming the SEC is going to follow suit, do the same thing. I know that, the news this weekend.
Yeah, we're not playing those games, guys.
The Georgia game was finalized again.
Not going to happen.
But I think what's going to happen is those two conferences are going to wall everything off from the others that are in the old Power 5 as they assume control as Power 2. And then magically there's going to be a requirement that they play each other out of conference because it's going to be one network. You could probably say something that's not clean, but it's just one big handshake between the networks. We'll put it that way. I think that's where this is going to go. It's just right now we're on the outside looking in. I think we'll be on the inside when it's all said and done.
When it's all said and done, we will.
These are tense times.
They're tough times, too. How far are you going to be behind when you join is the biggest question. And also, how much of an effect while you're lingering behind is that going to have on your other sports? I think you can pour everything you want into football and still compete at a high level for a long period of time. But I think you're screwed in everything else once you do it.
100% agree. 100%. I think football can survive and even thrive for another half decade, and I don't think it's going to be that difficult to do so. It's still Florida State.
Yeah.
And if you look at athletic department budgets and so forth, we're one of the biggest in the country. But it's those other sports.
Yeah, so say goodbye to everything else that you've enjoyed.
If you want it to be a competitive athletic department, which that's been our tradition around here, we don't operate with nearly as much coin as Stanford does, and yet we're always in that top 10, top 7 of the Capital One Cup.
Used to be the Sears Trophy, buddy.
The Directors' Cup standings, as they call it.
Yeah.
Like we're always, if that's what you want this athletic department to be about, then you are actually for moving sooner. You would think moving sooner is about football. I think moving sooner is about all of the sports.
Oh, it's about all of it. It's about all of it. Yeah, it's about operating with a budget that allows you to compete across the board, but certainly first and foremost, that is with football. It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
At Pinch A Penny Pool, Patio, and Spas, it's prime time hot tub season. And after a
What's up, guys? Our next partner that you're going to hear from is Athletic Greens. You've heard me talk about Athletic Greens in the past. Happy to talk about them again. I take Athletic Greens every day, and I gave them a try because certainly I wanted more energy, sustained energy. I wanted to support my immune system. I don't like taking pills and vitamins per se, and I wanted something that tasted good too. And the first time I tried it, I was very surprised. It had an appreciable effect on my energy levels, and also over time, you'll note that it helps your skin, your hair, your nails. I don't have a lot of hair, but if I did, I bet I could feel that. I bet I could tell. It's a comprehensive health habit, and it is a powerful one at that. AG1 is great for recovery. That's Athletic Greens. And I take mine basically when I wake up every morning. I don't have to worry about it because you get all the nutrients that you want. It's the best way to ensure that you're going to get all of your vitamins. It's a carbon neutral business, by the way, if that's important to you. It is to a lot of people, and that's good to know as well. I would also note that it is a comprehensive solution to what you need from a supplement routine. Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs right now with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/JCS. Helps me out, guys, if you use that. Not financially, but it lets them know that you heard this ad on my show. And I do take it, and I am vouching for them because I enjoy their product. It's athleticgreens.com/JCS. Check it out. I think you'll note the difference in your life with a simple drink each and every morning to start your day. athleticgreens.com/JCS.
Hey folks, it's me, Mac and More, spokesperson for Tallahassee's favorite Apple and Mac product store, Mac and More. We all know what Mac is all about. It's your MacBooks, iMacs, Apple Watch, iPhones, iPads, we've all got them. But what's really cool is the and more. And there's a lot more at Mac and More. They can help set up your new gear, migrate and back up your data, teach you new tricks and how to use everything better. And if something costs too much to fix, they'll tell you the truth. There's a lot more at Mac and More. See for yourself at macandmoresystems.com. Or you can take it from me, Mr. Mac and More.
Finding great people to hire can be like trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Their powerful matching technology delivers so many qualified candidates. It's like finding a needle in a needle stack. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. For less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. At ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Maytag month has got it going on. It's all you want with the savings all month long. Baby, can't you see? Maytag month is all you need. You know you can't go wrong when Maytag month is going on.
Upgrade to the performance you need on all Maytag major appliances during May is Maytag month, happening all month long.
Maytag month is going on.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Welcome back to the Jeff Cameron Show, sponsored by Legendary Home Loans, a mortgage experience designed around speed, simplicity, and customer service. Before you buy your next home, contact our friend Shannon Young with Legendary Home Loans. Visit FSUHomeLoans.com. FSUHomeLoans.com.
Back and forth and everything. How about that? Let me get to this, though. It's the bigger of the accomplishments. Florida State softball will host their 9th straight NCAA regional, tabbed as the number 3 overall seed in the 2023 NCAA softball tournament. They'll face Marist on Friday, if you're wondering. They are the MAAC champions.
Hey, that's Iona's conference.
There you go. That's at 4 p.m. If you're planning on heading over that way, 4 p.m. We get off the air on a Friday. You could maybe make your way on.
I think that means there will be thunderstorms. It's a regional in Tallahassee, after all, isn't it?
It's the law. The number 2 seed is South Carolina in this. They are 37-20. They'll face number 3 seed UCF. That game is at 7 p.m. on Friday night. And as far as accomplishments go, and a model of consistency, which is really another aspect of greatness, and it's a big aspect of greatness. You can be really good for a singular season or two, or you can catch lightning in a bottle. It's a whole other thing to be an ass-kicking machine for decades on end. And what Florida State has been able to develop here, Coach Alameda and her staff, is a level of greatness and consistency that is the envy of most of the college softball world. A couple of exceptions. Oklahoma, the national 1 seed, is obviously a juggernaut. But really, who's been better than Florida State, not named Oklahoma? This has been a really, really, really consistent and dominant program.
And Oklahoma's been a disappointment. I mean, when you grab 8 out of the top 10 recruits every single year out of high school, you should never, ever lose. You should be on some sort of UCLA streak, whether that's
It's getting closer.
North Carolina women's soccer,
Yeah.
UCLA. But, I mean, really, you should never lose. Gasso, it's actually very disappointing, the kind of product that you're putting out there relative to the talent
That you have.
disparity
Yeah.
that there is.
Yeah.
So, congrats to them and overcoming one of the worst ACC
How about that?
umpiring.
How about that?
Dude. I watched it live.
It's something to behold.
Director Matthew was hanging around at that time, and he saw my displeasure. I've never seen something called on the exchange that looked anything remotely like that.
Yeah.
It is an exceptional
That
play.
picture is awesome with the umpire in the background.
I mean,
You're like, what are we doing
It's an
here?
exceptional play at third base to keep it from going into the corner. Like that, it's a wonderful play. But when the player themselves runs immediately to the softball,
Scurries, understanding that they did indeed not make that catch.
I mean, it's just an atrocious call. I'm glad it didn't cost the Noles. They probably should have played a little bit less softball because they're going to score their second and third one out.
I always wonder, by the way, if you're an umpire or an official in basketball, you see it a lot. they make anticipatory calls a lot, and they don't mean to. You're not supposed to do that, but it happens a ton. You see officials anticipate contact on a shot when there isn't any. You see them anticipate a charge, and it turns out that the player had better body control and didn't charge, that kind of stuff. And they blow the whistle. We've all made a ton of mistakes. We've all seen something a certain way and realized a half a second later, as our brain processed what we just witnessed, that it didn't go the way we thought it was going to. You always wish that the umpire or the referee in that situation would be free to just, my bad. I thought she was going to catch it. I signaled.
Yeah.
I wanted to be on top of the call quickly so that the runners knew, and I made a call and it wasn't the right call. Safe. My apologies.
The thing is, you'd have to put them on first and second, I think, in that situation.
I know, and they never do it.
But it's better than, the inning's over.
Yeah. And that is the tough part. Like, you wish that the person would be free to say, my bad. I made this mistake. Because most of us, maybe not in the throes of the moment with all of our competitive juices flowing, but most people get that it ain't easy. That's a job where if you make a mistake, everybody sees it. And, you'd like a do-over on occasion. Most people could live with that, but they never do it. They always have to stay by it. And then everything is in place, set up to protect them. Because how many, especially in college sports, boy, they butcher reviews in college sports like it's their job. They'll review a play, see what we all saw, which was the mistake, and then go, nope, no evidence to reverse. I mean, Eric Llewellyn's done a good job of laying this out with the baseball program over the years. When they go review something in baseball, it doesn't matter. Whatever that dude said on the field is what it's going to be. They just never, they're like, screw it. We're not overturning Larry. There's no, Larry, you're good with us, baby. I don't even need to see this replay. We're just going to waste everybody's time for 10 minutes. It's nuts how often they just side with whatever was called. Can't do that. Otherwise, just don't have replay. Just don't have it. That way games get done a little bit quicker, and we'll all accept the fact that, like we did for the better part of 80 years, refs blow calls.
I just want to know what it would have looked like if it was, in fact, a play at third base in which there was a transfer being made. What kind of Neo in the Matrix move would you have to make to dive, to snag the ball out of the air, stop its momentum, and then transfer it as you're doing what? Like dropping down and avoiding the bullets and then firing to first base? Like, what kind of movement would it have had to have been?
That would have been the question you could have asked the umpire. It would have been a great question.
Well, I would have taken after you with Michael Kelly after the Nigel Bradham hit on LaRon.
What was it they were? Yes. Yeah. That was a fun conversation.
How would you? Okay, so if she's transferring, where's she going to catch the ball, Blue?
Yeah.
By her ankle because she's contorting herself like she's a Romanian gymnast?
It's a soccer. She was going to do it on her knee, make a play, a little juggling. It is the 23rd straight season that the Noles have made an NCAA regional. They are basically on a 16-game win streak. They won their 19th ACC championship with that 2-1 win over Duke. So those tickets are sold out. It took 5 minutes, quite literally 5 minutes from the time the games ended and the announcement was made. And that's the end of that.
I can tell you that it's impossible to get a grandstand seat for softball.
The good news is, across the street at that parking garage where you're drinking and having a blast is just fine.
Like, there are some seats in that right field line where they have the unlimited food and beer and wine. It's basically the price of the Champions Club for football, so it'll hurt your feelings a little bit. But to get grandstand seating, the level of booster you got to be now, the program has been totally embraced. And it's just so funny to me in a good way because Hauser was the epicenter of that part near the Leach. It was the epicenter of all things sports right there in that little quadrant. And now it's softball. And I don't know that it's that close. It's going to take a little time. Link obviously has got a lot of work to do this offseason. But softball, that is its own atmosphere with the parking garage and the people along the hill, along outside the fence area. They probably need to add seating out there in left field if they can.
Let's do it. I mean, but by the way, just to put a ribbon on the previous talking point, and actually it's not going to be a rhythm because I want to address another ribbon. I want to address another aspect of all of this, our situation in the ACC that we're dealing with, and the money and the frustration and all of it, and how it affects everything. Okay, so this softball program that we hold near and dear that has earned its way as one of the preeminent programs in all the land, Lonnie Alameda has been pursued by everybody in the SEC at various points. They've offered above and beyond any reasonable market value because they have more money than sense. And as this continues, there will be at some point a number that she cannot turn down. That's just the way that's going to happen. For the longer we stay in this godforsaken conference and trail, at some point, an SEC school is going to offer a softball coach. It's a non-revenue sport for the most part, guys. A softball coach. I'm not demeaning anything. This is the reality of the situation. They're going to offer a softball coach $2 or $3 million a year. She'd be crazy not to say I'm leaving.
Correct, but I will say that as the future of FSU softball and FSU soccer, I think, are secure. Like, I think a lot of other sports will have to go down before you get to those sports on the women's side of the ledger.
But it won't. It's not going to take as long as you think. Look at how pervasive this is now across the ACC. This conference is no longer the preeminent basketball conference. It was far and away the most dominant conference in basketball. There were a few exceptions, occasionally the Big East back when it was a juggernaut, and other conferences every now and again rose up. The ACC is not the first best conference. It's not the second best conference in basketball anymore, and it's not about to be anytime soon. It's no longer an elite. Well, I won't say that. It's still a very, very, very good baseball conference, but it's not the SEC in baseball. It's not. And the gap's going to continue to widen. This is depressing. I mean, we're going to continue to watch this pile up, and I hate it. And I know at some point, even a conference that houses Florida State soccer and Florida State softball, which is, I mean, obviously those are two juggernaut programs, are going to get raided with the excess funds. Somebody's going to say, well, we could win like that. We could win like that. We have an extra $100 million worth of money we're swimming in now. We can't put it in facilities anymore. Let's put it into coaches and players. And then you're done. Chef Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
The Tallahassee Police Department is investigating a crash Saturday evening that claimed the life of a 1-year-old boy. The crash happened just after 6:30 p.m. in the 100 block of Great Lake Street. The boy was hit by a car while he was outside. He was transported to a local hospital for treatment, but died from his injuries shortly after arriving. The driver has been identified, but no further information has been released. This is an ongoing investigation. Detectives ask anyone who may have more information to call TPD at 850-891-4200. Leon County's annual Tire Amnesty Days program comes to an end on May 26th. It's an opportunity to safely dispose of old or unwanted tires free of charge. It also helps protect the environment and reduces mosquito breeding. Residents can dispose of up to 25 passenger car tires. Tires without rims are preferred. Commercial loads and items aside from tires will not be accepted. This is Rachel Anay with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MaclemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Scattered thunderstorms likely this afternoon. Otherwise, mainly cloudy skies expected. Highs around 91, southerly winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Overcast tonight, scattered thunderstorms likely. Lows dip down to about 69. Cloudy skies with a few peaks of sun tomorrow. Chance for scattered thunderstorms. Highs level off around 87. This report is brought to you by The Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 90.
Someone who thought texting was a better idea than stopping for a traffic light slams into your rear bumper. Now your back is injured and you've got to be at work and rehab, all without a car. I'm Jimmy Fasig at Fasig Brooks. We hear stories like this every day. You shouldn't pay for someone else's mistake. Call us at 850-777-7777 and we'll make sure you come back stronger.
My man Eddie.
Jeff, what's happening, dude?
Bears eating people all over the place. I read another article today. It's the third one in the last month of somebody getting mauled to death by a bear.
Man, you know, bears have their own space. You got to let them have that.
You do. You got to stay clear of bears, is what you're saying?
Yes.
I got a question for you. Here you go. If you had to be mauled to death, eaten alive by any animal in the world, which would you choose to eat you alive?
Ooh, I think maybe I'd want, I don't know, longevity time, a mouse?
just a slow burn.
Slow little burn.
This thing just finished the pinky. It's been a month.
I could go to work. I can still do my thing. I could probably live 30 years.
I thought you were going to say great white because it'd be quick, or a grizzly. We went with mouse.
Yeah, mouse.
Okay, mouse it is. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
I thought this very same thing. Yeah, I have. And I don't think you're wrong, but I think there's other ways to look at this. Okay, where is it? I want to give the right person credit. They mentioned that for as long as we continue to angrily discuss our situation in the ACC and trying to get the hell up out of here, the more we do it, the more difficult it's going to be made on us during the football season. That Florida State, Tony wrote, telling you the more we push to get out of here, the more the refs are going to screw FSU. Okay, so there's a few things here. There is, to some degree, a misnomer about officials in Florida State. There is also the reality that routinely the best teams in the conference, the most elite teams in the conference, lately it's been Clemson, but when it was us, it's never been Miami, oddly enough.
Which is strange because I believe ACC stands for All Canes Conference.
At one time, that was the thought process for Miami fans. Still waiting on that elusive first ever ACC.
They're not going to get one. They're not going to get one.
It's not going to.
This conference is going to blow up before they can do it.
It's going to dissolve before they can ever win one. It actually, while we're on the subject, it is remarkable to think. Now, like, if you wanted to get depressed as a Miami fan, you have a lot of options. But sweet Jesus, say that one over to you over and over and over again to yourself. You've never won the ACC. The ACC. This conference. Not the SEC. You've never won the ACC. I mean, sweet Jesus, you've only ever played for the ACC title one time. Once. And you got blown out. Now, by the way, if you wonder, like, how improbable that is, Missouri played for the SEC championship like the first year they were in the conference.
Yeah. Back-to-back years out of the East.
I mean, that's just imagine how depressing that is.
It is tough to imagine how depressing that is. I like trying to. I think also maybe we should call Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M's trophy maker to see if we can issue Miami an ACC football championship trophy just with a blank area for where the year is engraved. Because remember, Jimbo was given a national championship trophy when he took over the Aggies program.
They just didn't have the date. Didn't have the date.
The date is coming, to be determined.
Miami accepted an invitation to join the ACC in 2003, guys. It's a long time.
I was in high school.
It's something to behold. All right. So back to this other point. Will Florida State's incessant bitching about the financial disparity of this conference and where we sit in it lead to a discrepancy or an inordinate number of calls against Florida State during football games this year? The probably universally agreed upon, and they would be anecdotal, but universally agreed upon answer to that amongst this fan base is absolutely 100%. It's going to happen. I'm not that conspiratorial. I know incompetence is an awfully big part of what happens in officiating. I also know that teams that are bigger, stronger, faster always get called for more penalties than everybody else. So there's a part of me that's like, when we get called for more penalties this year, I know the fans are going to say it's because we're constantly bitching about the situation in the ACC. I'm going to tell you it's because we're finally bigger, stronger, faster again, that it matters. We, along with, in the years Miami was actually good, but certainly Clemson and any other team that was really good in a given period of time in the ACC, Virginia Tech back for that brief period of time, always got called for more penalties. The bigger, stronger, faster teams do. Officials, whether they know it or not, subconsciously feel bad for those that are impotent to stop a deadly force. Like when you are not equipped to handle the situation, you're more inclined in those situations to call a penalty on the bully. And that has happened when we're good, always. Another thing that happened, Tom, when we were good and that happened, it didn't matter. We beat your ass by 50.
That's correct. The latter point is correct. And I remember those days. Boy, these two teams lead the country in penalties. And that was Brent Musburger calling every Miami-Florida State game that was, on ABC in my childhood. Like, these are two of the most penalized teams in the country.
Yeah.
Say the same thing about Florida in the 90s as well. But my counterpoint would be when the ACC invents ways to assert Wake Forest's lead on the road 2 years ago. You remember that noon kickoff where there were 3 or 4 critical penalties called, one in which there is visual evidence of the referee looking in the opposite direction and just hearing the noise from the sideline and throwing a flag in the air. And then the roadie at Boston College, which included one of the worst punt return kick-catch interference calls you'll ever see in your life, in addition to about 3 or 4 other rulings that made absolutely no sense.
Mm-hmm.
Florida State wasn't that much bigger, stronger, and faster, if at all, in those two particular situations.
Oh, and yet, we can find.
And yet it was tilted. It wasn't like there were terrible calls going both ways. I mean, you were probably, the score might at the end of the game might have been 5-1 in favor of Florida State going the wrong way.
So I ask you, did they get together beforehand to decide to screw Florida State?
I will retort and say, I entertain that question. I entertain that question. I don't know that it's an affirmative, but it's so bad. It is so bad that I have to entertain that question.
Felt that way in the moment, but I assure you, I don't think they did. I don't think they did. It's as old as football. We know these things. It's frustrating.
But when you get to that level of the job, I understand it's collegiate officiating, but when you get to that level of the profession, it would be akin to an offensive coordinator only sending 8 dudes out there on back-to-back plays because he forgot there are 11. I mean, that's how absurd some of these calls are relative to what they should be calling.
Yeah. I'm going to note, I'm trying to warn everybody here and everybody listening down the line and say the podcast, if you're not catching this live, I'm just trying to warn you, get ready for a lot of flags. I know the instant reaction to those calls, the inordinate number of calls against, let's say, is going to be, see, this is all the byproduct of us bitching about stuff off the field. It's really a very positive thing, and that it's the byproduct of us getting bigger, stronger, faster. And I think Florida State will end up by far being the best team in this conference along with Clemson, and it won't be close with anybody else.
The other place, though, you have to point to is when a replay official has a chance to make a decision. It's not just about penalizing somebody because that he hit him too hard, which is something we see a lot, and I agree with you. That's just the human
happens
nature.
all the time. They just throw the flag.
Nature.
Yeah, it's human nature. They blow guys up.
When there are replay reviews and we get 3 out of the first 4 in conference games, and you say, you saw what? You came away with what conclusion?
I think the replay system throughout college football is broken. And I watch it just like you do. And I just got done talking about this earlier in the hour. We watch all the time, and we see that they refuse to overturn. Like, the preponderance of evidence that's necessary for them to overturn must be very different than what we would perceive it to be. Because you and I can look at a replay and go, I can see in 6 seconds that his foot was down. This is a catch, no catch. He's in, he's out, whatever. They watch it for 5 minutes and get it wrong. There has to be something that we don't know about what the evidence has to suggest, because it can't just be what is. Because if it were just what is, we would see this get done properly more consistently. But it has to be more than that. It has to be more than that. They must have to look at 16 factors. It would help describe, or it would help explain, why the hell it takes so long to look at a replay.
The other factor is, what color jersey is this one team wearing? And wait a minute.
I don't think
if it's Garnet, we go this way.
I don't think that's it. Roderick, no, I don't think we want to be independent right now. I get it. Everybody's clamoring for answers. They know this is an untenable situation. And right now, anything other than being in this conference sounds like a great suggestion. But I don't think that you want to be an independent right now. I would tell you this. I don't even think Notre Dame is going to be an independent for that much longer. At some point, they get the cold shoulder. When the Big Ten and the SEC just decides we're not scheduling Notre Dame. Keep in mind, Notre Dame has always played Southern Cal and Michigan and these teams. When they say, no, we're not playing Notre Dame. We're not playing independents. We're not playing teams outside of our conference. We're not doing that. Well, then who's Notre Dame going to play? They're going to play Air Force and Navy. They'll play a couple of other patsies, and they'll, whatever. They can amass whatever record they want. They wouldn't be in. Their schedule strength would be the worst in football history. Nobody's going to play them. So I don't think they even want to be independent for too much longer. So, no, I guess the answer would be we do not want to be independent. We want to be in either the SEC or the Big Ten, and we want to be there really soon, damn it. Hour 2 forthcoming. Stay with.
Wooden Glass has been taking care of business since 1945. When you call Wooden Glass, you're dealing with experienced, reliable professionals who offer only the best. Like Wooden's top-of-the-line bath enclosures that provide style and luxury at an affordable price. Eye-catching storefronts are a specialty at Wooden Glass. We'll help you design it and install it. Wooden Glass, the first name in glass replacement. Call 222-5781.
When you need a plumber quick, how long is an acceptable time to have to wait?
Yeah, hey, it's the Millers again. Just calling you about our little plumbing problem.
2 hours?
Hey, we were hoping you can get here soon because the water is getting really bad. Please hurry.
4 hours?
I know you said you were on your way, but, honey, tell the kids to tread water.
8 hours?
Don't worry about us. We're fine.
At M&L Plumbing, you'll never have to wait long for quality, dependable service, right when you need it. At M&L Plumbing, we listen to our customers, and our qualified technicians aim to achieve 100% customer satisfaction. So the next time you need plumbing work or repairs, think of the name M&L Plumbing, your local plumbing experts, commercial or residential. Give us a call, 850-575-9393, or visit us online at mandlplumbing.com. M&L Plumbing, for all of your plumbing needs.
Hi, I'm Stephanie. Some people call me Paul because I work at Paul's Termite and Pest Control. Everyone that works here will proudly answer to the name Paul. One of the things I love about my job is that I get to help people fix their problems every day. If you have pests in your home, and you're like 99.9% of the people I deal with, you want them gone, not tomorrow, but right now. It always puts a smile on my face to hear the reaction of a customer when I tell them we'll have someone out there in a couple of hours. At Paul's, I get the privilege of making your environment safer and more healthy for your family and pets. And because Paul's provides a same-day service guarantee with minimal wait, we get to begin the process right after I receive the call.
If you live in Leon County and call us by noon, Paul's Pest Control will be out by 5, guaranteed. We're a local company, and it's our mission to help keep Tallahassee area customers comfortable and free from the problem that pests bring. And we do so with treatments that are friendly to our environment for the elimination of termites and any other pests.
And a greener lawn, too. Call Paul's. We'll get them all.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take-home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus, happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas wall, featuring 560 inches of flat-screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show. Live and local on Real Talk 93.3. WVFT, Greta, Tallahassee. The latest betting odds and live movements from Vegas. This is your action update. Now, here are your latest lines from our guys in the desert.
Tampa Bay Rays had the day off before they open up a series tomorrow at the New York Mets. Yesterday, as the $1.19 favorite, the Rays beat the Yankees 8-7 at Yankee Stadium. The Mets today wrap up a series with the Nationals. They're the $1.50 road favorite, 9.5 over the total. Charlie Morton on the mound with the Braves today, minus 115 to the Texas Rangers, minus 105. 9 flat at Globe Life Field. Scotty Scheffler, John Rahm, the plus 750 co-favorites win this week's PGA Championship at the Rochester, New York Oak Hill Country Club. They'll play on the East Court. Start betting smarter with the betting intelligence app, Juice Reel. Download the free app today, Juice, REEL. For more sports betting news and information, go to VSIN.com. Mike Son at Real Talk 93.3.
Staples has everything your business needs all in one place. Shipping supplies and services so you can fill orders from all over in one stop. Plus professional print and marketing services at your fingertips. And now during Staples Small Business Deal Days, when rewards members spend $100 or more, they get $20 back in rewards plus another $10 back with the Staples Connect app. And you'll find new deals in store every week on tech, shares, and shipping supplies. Get everything for your business for less at Staples. Rewards offer ends 5/27. Limit 1. Redeemable in-store only.
Smooth skin begins with hydrating ingredients. Olay Hyaluronic Body Lotion nourishes your skin with all-day hydration for deeply moisturized results that give you confidence like buttery soft shoulders like and visibly smooth skin like. Quench your skin with nourishing moisture from Olay Hyaluronic Body Lotion. Try Olay Hyaluronic Body Wash too and get skin your face will envy.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
Now that the brutal North Florida and South Georgia winter is over, okay, we had a couple of cold snaps, but still, now is the best time to give your AC system a good cleaning. Dust can build up in your AC system, leading to higher utility bills and poor air quality. That's when it's E&B to the rescue. Our 21-point inspection and tune-up costs only $99 and gets things working their very best. So before the summer hits, get your AC spick and span. Call E&B Heating and Air Conditioning today.
Let's take a minute to imagine all the things you can accomplish with help from Southeast Portable Buildings. Are you a hoarder? Hoard some more. Get a storage shed. Mother-in-law moving in with you? Put her in a shed out back. I'm kidding. Still working on that engine that you're going to finish from last summer? Move it out to a new workspace with Southeast Portable Buildings. From she sheds and man caves to repair shops and trophy rooms, the possibilities are only limited to your imagination. Visit Southeast Portable Buildings today.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Broadcasting live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
watching the fat man revert to form when the games mattered most. The old 3 for 11 with 5 turnovers. Thanks for playing.
It was tied at 55.
It was 55-52 at half.
Yeah.
Then the ass stomping occurred because all of a sudden, a certain player remembered the stakes are high.
I was watching the game with somebody you've met before, and we're just kind of talking, and the game's on in the background. I'm watching it more than the other people in the room, and they go on the run. I mean, the run to end all runs.
Thanks for playing, run. Yeah.
The guy turns around and goes, "This game sucks." Like, yeah, it did go from compelling to it being terrible.
It was a great half. That half was awesome. Both teams were playing at a pretty high level, and
yeah, the second quarter felt like
incredible.
A fourth quarter, didn't it?
Yeah, it was intense.
The half court possessions, the physicality, all that stuff. Yeah, second quarter was great, but there were 2 more to go.
Yeah. Harden has a history of forgetting that. And was terrible in the previous game, too. So he really felt the weight of those expectations after having shown up in grand fashion for a couple games. Yeah, they'll have to part with him, and I don't know if Doc will make it either, but we'll see. His record now, he's all-time worst in Game 7s. Did you know that?
Yeah, he's 16-33 in game or series clinching scenarios.
Mm.
But that's also a skewed statistic. There's only one that counts when you clinch. So you're kind of set up to have an under 500 record, but
you can
16-33 is
just look at the Game 7 numbers.
Yeah.
Those specific are not real good. But yeah, no, I listen, I've had a lot of fun. These playoffs have been fun. The Lakers and Nuggets tomorrow will be a good time. That's a crazy matchup. Especially when you consider that, for much of the regular season, we weren't sure the Lakers were going to make the playoffs. So that's the regular season has changed a lot over the years. And now it's not necessarily something that portends of what's going to happen in the postseason. I mean, the 44-38 Heat find themselves in the conference finals. So there you go. It is, it's kind of a weird moment. By the way, talk about angry. Think about everybody north of the border looking at what's left in hockey in those matchups.
Yeah, well,
they're like, really? Really?
How about the league office saying, "Oh God, Dallas is going to win, so we're going to have Dallas, Vegas, Carolina, Florida."
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's hilarious to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're like, boy, a lot of hockey in states that get blazingly hot. They're just like the hottest places in the country are hosting the biggest games of the year.
Yeah. What if I told you for Stanley Cup Finals weather, you're not playing in Tampa this year? All right.
Yeah. No,
but
further south.
Your other choices are hotter.
Oh man, it's nuts. But yeah, no, I've had a good time watching this, and I wish that. I wish I wasn't old, because some of these games during the week, now that they started up this stage, I'm going to be tired. I mean, I want to watch them.
Yeah, Game 7 tonight is a must for the Kraken and Dallas. Seattle can save. I will watch. I always do.
By the way, I like the Kraken, so I'm watching.
I am not fired up if it's Dallas, Vegas, Carolina, Florida. That is a whole lot of yuck. Ugh. But Seattle can save it. The novelty, Yanni Gord's on their team, and he's Mr. Playoffs.
Correct. Yep.
So come on, Seattle. It means for your Dallas Stars fans out there, I know there are lots of you in the chat and in the airways in Tallahassee.
Can't wait.
Dallas is going to win 6-1 now, because that's the way this is going to have to be.
I will give the NBA credit. This is something that I complain about with leagues, plural, in general. The start time for 4 games during a work week, I'm always thinking about it from the standpoint of when I was a little kid, and like if you're trying to grow the game. Everybody talks about growing the game all the time. Well, then you can't start games at 9:30. You can't start games at 10 o'clock. Can't start games at 9. I don't care if it's West Coast or not. You can't do it. So we do get LA and Denver starting at 8:30. Thank you. Well done, league. 8:30's pretty doable. Pretty doable.
What does your young man have to say? Is Denver going to kill the Lakers? What's going on?
I don't think he thinks they're going to kill the Lakers. No. And if you look at this version of the Lakers, it always comes back to Anthony Davis. Like, can he string together the games where he's playing at his best and not riding around in pain for 10 minutes and leaving the floor on a stretcher or something ridiculous because he fell?
There's a lot of that going around the NBA.
That's why I was laughing. I got to give Charles Barkley and Shaq all kinds of credit. They made me laugh. They couldn't keep it together. They couldn't compose themselves when Ernie said at one point Davis was woozy from the elbow to the head. They had to take him in a wheelchair to the locker room, and you look over and Shaq is buckled over, and he knows he can't say anything because he's going to get yelled at, but he's trying not to laugh. And then Charles sees it, and he's buckled over laughing, and Kenny's going, come on, guys. They're making fun of him. Well, I would have too, just like we made fun of Paul Pierce back in the day.
That's correct.
Really,
Paul Pierce, Dwayne Wade, LeBron. We're all trendsetters.
Well, we had a guy in our own backyard here in Tallahassee who
following their lead.
Once a game, broken, shattered ankle. It has to be. He's been on the floor for an hour.
I've got EPL on in the morning yesterday, and Director Matthew says to me, hey, do you think it's actually more pervasive in EPL or in basketball?
Yeah.
And I said, I think it's still EPL, but there's a lot of it. It really has gotten worse in the last 10 to 15 years in the NBA. A lot worse.
Yeah, well, everybody clamoring, flopping and trying to get calls, and there's nobody worse than James Harden. So that's why I've hated him for so long. But one thing I would say is that I don't know. Look, Ben, I get it. Sometimes people get hurt, and that's fine. We always look carefully at a replay to see, like, how hurt are you? Are you really hurt? I'm not going to say anything if you're really hurt. But what we do see way too much of is this milking as if it's going to affect what is called. And I think that's because of the degrees. So I don't listen, we'll move on from basketball here in a second. But what I will tell you is, so Harden got called for a flagrant one with the forearm to the face.
I don't think that was.
No, it's a foul. It's just a foul. You just call it off.
I thought it was a common foul because he's going to transfer to his other. There's a transfer
Well, he
for
loses
ACC
the ball,
umpires,
yeah.
but I think he's expecting to have a heavy mass in the right hand, so it flails because it's empty.
But even if he's not, I just would call it offensive foul and move on. I don't even care the reason.
I agree.
Just call a foul and move on.
It was common all the way.
But they have all these different degrees of flagrants now, and when to call what, and they have to look at everything. And again, I sound very old when I have this conversation because, admittedly, I watched an NBA in which Kevin McHale just straight up yoked Kurt Rambis because he didn't want him to have a layup in the first half of a game. Just decided, no, I'm going to give you the old clothesline. You're going to the ground. You're not laying this up. And, there's some pushing and shoving. It's a foul, 2 shots.
Right.
Let's get two.
Did you see the last one, but the one they called in the second half yesterday? I think it was on Smart. He was laying down in the restricted area.
Yeah, and Embiid stepped on him.
Embiid makes the basket.
Yeah.
The whistle blows after.
Yeah.
He signals block when he kicks him in the chest.
Kicks him in the chest, I know. Yeah, I laughed at that,
But they
too.
gave him an N1. It was the most backwards, quite literally backwards continuation I've ever seen because he only got one free throw. On the other. I thought they called a post-make block because the whistle was so damn late.
Yeah. It's interesting what they have to go, the machinations they go through now to call games in the NBA with like the various degrees, and we got to replay everything. It's one aspect I'm not in love with. Later this hour, I mentioned it in the first hour. We spent a lot of time on this talking point because I think it's an important one, and it's certainly one on the minds of Florida State fans everywhere. And that is, anything going to get resolved? Are we going to take another step forward involving where Florida State's at in the ACC in terms of the money, how much more they can expect to get, the fact that they're attempting to tackle this issue? Ira is over there today. He'll be joining me shortly. We actually spoke right when he got there a little earlier today. I didn't want to miss our Monday get-together, and he was getting ready to go in and talk with Michael Alford and others as these meetings get underway today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. And Alford has already talked about the fact that they're not backing down, that they're going to continue to push for a change in the way that revenue is dispersed. And I don't think that will be met with open arms. Of course, I don't think there'll be a lot of people there who will share that sentiment, save for Clemson, save for perhaps Miami and North Carolina and maybe another school or so. But most of the schools are going to kind of, no, don't want to do that. Don't want to give you our share of money, Florida State. We're not going to do that. So we shall see. I thought this quote was interesting. Alfred said, quote, "I compliment Jim Phillips and his staff for everything they're trying to do. They understand what's coming. I've made it abundantly clear that there is a $30 million gap that's starting next season. And that cannot go on for years because then you just cannot catch up." All right. So, you go back to that. He's quoted as saying that he's talked about revenue projections. He's talked about UCF is on the cusp of joining the Big 12 and making more money than Florida State. And in no world should that ever happen, given the two programs. But just because Jim Phillips says he's trying doesn't mean he's succeeding. In fact, while Jim Phillips tries, we can guess that he is failing because so far that has been the norm. A lot of failing, a lot of not getting things done that had to get done in order for the ACC to be competitive and survive. The first of which was somehow, some way, with your connections and your undying and unwavering love for Notre Dame, you had to find a way to get them to join the ACC to give you a fighting chance at real television revenue and a new contract. And that never came close to happening.
Well, the one thing that always confused me isn't Notre Dame's take. I know they asked for the moon from NBC in this re-up that's coming up. Wasn't it only 20 some odd $1 million?
I don't remember.
It was like 24, 25 million a year. That's all it was. They didn't really care about the payout because the ACC assumed those monies during the COVID season when Notre Dame joined the ACC for a temporary period of time. And then it was evenly distributed amongst all the member institutions, but it only came out to like $1 million and change per school. So I never understood the concept of if Notre Dame joins the ACC, we are now magically going to be akin to the Big or the SEC in terms of payout. They're not worth that much money. I'm sorry, they're just not.
Well, but they were going to enhance whatever television contract you were able to negotiate next.
Right. I would like it if their admission into the conference as a football member would open up a window where we could leave. Like, if that's an option, then that's great.
Renegotiate the deal.
But are they really going to bring it up to the level where it's palatable? What would it be $18 million a year down to the? They're not worth that much by themselves.
No, not by themselves. But I think that the package you would be selling to a television network is a much more enticing one with Notre Dame. Notre Dame, for a certain era of gentlemen that are my dad's age, certainly are the bigwigs in college football and continue to be one of the cornerstones of college football. I would say that if you added them and then another school that was of a sizable amount,
Right. I think the more apt argument you could make is, well, the going rate clearly has gone up.
Right.
So that's part of the equation. But the problem is for guys that are your dad's age, and happy belated to him, my dad's age,
Yep.
Tom Selleck is selling them stuff now. Like we're talking about, life insurance policies and maybe some debt consolidation and
reverse mortgages.
There it is.
Yeah.
Reverse mortgages. The late Wilford Brimley probably still has a commercial on TV.
Diabetes.
Pushing. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know that those spot rates are quite as high. And so that's the issue with Notre Dame. They're worth something.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we're not getting them, so it doesn't matter. Jim Phillips filled.
But they could never, even if they came here, they couldn't have transformed the ACC to be a Power 3.
Not on their own. We would have needed a tandem. We would have needed some momentum, some leverage, something we're like, oh, Notre Dame's joining. Okay, let's see.
UCLA, USC. We should have gone, they should have done the coast to coast.
Would have been pretty cool. Good Lord, that's a lot of travel for non-revenue sports, though, buddy. I mean,
I ain't getting on that plane.
I'm just saying it would have been tough to pull off at this point. Hey, by the way, just as an aside, before we break and before we bring Ira in to further this subject matter, get his thoughts on it. PGA Championship, buddy. Returning to Oak Hill Country Club in Rochester, New York. You ever been there? You're a New York guy.
Rochester? No.
No?
Upstate? No.
East Course will play a lot different than the last time it was hosted, the PGA Championship there in Rochester, which was 2013, by the way. Tom, as you well know, this is a Donald Ross course design.
Oh, well, one of the Power 3.
Yeah, there you go. And we're talking about forecasts calling for a high of around 60 to 65. Wish we were in Rochester, buddy.
Let's go cover it. What do you say?
Little chance of rain, slim chance of rain, but 65 degrees. Ooh.
I mean, if Gene
don't mind if I do.
If Gene can foot the bill for Ira to go to Amelia, he can send us to Rochester.
Let's do it.
There's a decent hotel up there.
Gotta be. So if I give you this list, you tell me really quickly, because I'm in a pool and I'm just curious to pick your brain. Okay. You're in a pool too. We're in a group together.
Everybody's got a pool.
Really, there you go. All right, here are the names. And of this group, you say yay or nay. These are your frontline guys. John Rahm, Scotty Scheffler, Brooks Koepka, Tony Finau, Rory McIlroy, Jordan Spieth, Patrick Cantlay, Victor Hovland, Cam Young, Colin Morikawa, Xander Schauffele, Matthew Fitzpatrick, Justin Thomas, Max Homa, Hideki Matsuyama, Sam Burns, Jason Day, Cam Smith, Tommy Fleetwood, Adam Scott, Dustin Johnson.
What am I supposed to do with that list?
Give me 2.
2? You got to go with the Romulan and Scotty. It's chalk.
Yeah. It's
But
those two.
Scotty almost accidentally won this weekend.
Yeah, shot a 65, didn't have his game.
And John, I think Rom did the right thing after the second major. He went away for a little bit. He played the next week at Harbortown. He played in Mexico. He was top 2 as he should have been. Like he was, it was him and Finau. They were at the tops in contention. But you could tell based upon his interviews, he's taking a mental break. He's not doing that brand new major winner thing where they come in fried. And
he did have to play the week
out.
after the Masters, and he still played well.
Harbortown. Yeah, that's what he did that, but then he took the break before the Mexico event, then he took a break again. Like, I think he's not going to be burnt out like a lot of these major winners are when they show up at the next one.
Well, my man's won 6 times this year already, including his second majors, which was the Masters, and he is just now 28. So, yeah, he's really freaking good.
My final pick's on Wednesday. I want to learn more about the course. I want to learn more about what it favors.
I just want to throw it out there. We got a lot going on this week, man. NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, and, of course, a major. So that's always fun. It's going to be a fun week. Chef Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Irashfel, Warchant.com. Going to join us in a moment.
There's no doubt that buying a home can feel overwhelming, especially if it's your first home. You're worried about location, school zones, square footage, inspections, insurance, loan approvals, interest rates, and of course the price. Buying a home could be the most significant investment you've ever made. But there's good news. You have our friends at Legendary Home Loans, and they're on your side and in your corner. They're going to go to bat for you. Shannon Young from Legendary Home Loans can help first-time home buyers get up to $25,000 for your down payment. For first responders, veterans, teachers, military, and healthcare workers, and that's not all, Shannon is an expert navigator of the home loan terrain, and you can trust that he's going to get you the most competitive interest rates and guide you through the process every step of the way. Plus, Shannon will also get your closing costs reduced. It's the Hometown Heroes program at Legendary Home Loans. Give them a call today, 844-FSU-LOAN. That's 844-FSU-LOAN. Or go to FSUHomeLoans.com and ask for Shannon Young.
At Pinch-A-Penny Pool, Patio, and Spas, it's prime time hot tub season. And after a long, stressful day, there's nothing like soaking in a hot tub with all that steam. And it has lots of great health benefits, too. Pinch-A-Penny Pool, Patios, and Spas is your true hot tub headquarters. Save today on the hot tub of your dreams at prices you can afford. Come and shop our 12,000 square foot showroom and find the right model for you. With over 50 hot tubs in stock, you're sure to find the one that's just right. And for a limited time, take advantage of a free spa cover with purchase of your new hot tub. That's around a $400 value, completely free with your purchase. If you're ready to relax, we're here to show you how. Pinch-A-Penny Pool, Patios, and Spas. Come see us at 2473 Greer Road. Pick out your hot tub and enjoy your free cover. You'll be glad you did.
Someone who thought texting was a better idea than stopping for a traffic light slams into your rear bumper. Now your back is injured and you've got to be at work and rehab, all without a car. I'm Dana Brooks of Basic Brooks Law Offices, and we hear stories like this every day. You shouldn't pay for someone else's mistake. Call us at 850-777-7777 and we'll make sure you come back stronger.
A cup of Joe, Java, Brew, Go-Go Beans, Brainwater, Liquid Lightning, Wakey Juice, whatever you call your cup of coffee, you're missing out if it's not Grassroots Coffee. At grassrootscoffee.com, you'll find an easy way to order the best roasted coffee beans available. It's very simple. Choose the blend you want and how you want it ground, and the bag you receive will have the date your beans were roasted and packaged on it, all written by hand and signed by the roast master himself. You'll know that's as fresh as it gets. You can get Grassroots outside of your house also at some of your favorite restaurants in town. Next time you're out to eat, try asking for Grassroots Coffee by name, because there's a good chance they will have it for you. And if you own a business, Grassroots Coffee has options to stock your break rooms with all the productivity powder your team needs. Plus, like some other options that you'll find at work, Grassroots Coffee actually is a part of our community. Hit to grassrootscoffee.com today and get yourself a treat. Some locally owned, locally roasted, and locally loved Grassroots Coffee.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Welcome back to the Jeff Cameron Show, sponsored by Legendary Home Loans, a mortgage experience designed around speed, simplicity, and customer service. Before you buy your next home, contact our friend Shannon Young with Legendary Home Loans. Visit FSUHomeLoans.com. FSUHomeLoans.com.
There he is. I can see him on my screen. For those of you driving around on the radio, you can't see managing editor Ira Schafel of Warchant.com, but I can. He's over in Jacksonville, and for good reason. It is the start of the ACC spring meetings. And Ira, I can think of not too many spring meetings that would be this anticipated, because Florida State and Michael Alford, the athletic director, and really Florida State staff, we've picked a fight with the ACC here. It goes back a little ways. You well documented that. I would encourage everybody to go to warchant.com and read your piece for this upcoming meeting. And now they intend to further the discussion of what has to happen for Florida State to, I don't know what, be happy? What is the end game, Ira, here, and other than to elicit more money?
Yeah, I think that's a fair question. And those two probably go hand in hand. The meetings actually start today. This afternoon over in Amelia Island, and we'll be here for the next few days. And some of the meetings will be basic, normal things that always happen at the conference meetings. Maybe talking about rules and scheduling and things like that. But then, as you said, they're going to have some frank discussions about the revenue distribution in Florida State, Clemson, Miami, probably North Carolina, and maybe one or two other schools would like to see it be weighted. And so where schools like Florida State, Clemson, that argue they bring in most of that TV revenue, they want it to a lion's share to go to those schools. Obviously, the schools who don't fall in that category are going to want to keep all their money as it stands right now for the last really for as long as I know. The ACC has always distributed the revenue equally every year. They get a few $100 million from their television partners, and it gets cut evenly between the schools. Florida State, Clemson, a couple other schools are trying to get them to change that. I don't know if there's going to be a resolution this week. I don't know if anybody's going to walk away happy this week. I will say that Florida State's not backing down, and I don't think Clemson's backing down. And so I think this fight is going to continue as long as nothing happens.
Ira, can you, while you're there, if you have an opportunity, pull the fine folks from North Carolina to the side and ask them what it is they're fighting for? Because nobody watches their games. So I'm kind of curious what it is that they're picking a fight for.
And it's funny, when I posted the story over the weekend that you referenced, and Michael Alford was really blunt, as he's been now for the last several months about this topic. I tweeted a couple of his quotes along the lines of, look, this is not acceptable. It's not acceptable to be $30 million behind the SEC and the Big Ten. And it's also not acceptable that at some point in the next 6 or 7 years, the Big 12 is going to renegotiate. UCF, which is joining the Big 12, may start getting more every year from their TV deal than Florida State does. And just thinking about that from a big picture standpoint, imagine how frustrating that would be to the administrators of Florida State and also the coaches who now they have one hand tied behind their back against programs that, they've had a huge head start on and have way more tradition than historically. So that frustration is going on. But what's funny is when I tweeted those comments, a lot of the media along Tobacco Road kind of fired back, and not even just Tobacco Road. Mark Ennis, who we're friends with, who covers Louisville, some of the North Carolina reporters, some of the reporters in other parts of the ACC made comments along the lines of, look, tough luck. Nothing's going to change. You're stuck. There's nothing you can do about it. And it's like, okay, we'll see. I think that's kind of the approach Florida State's taking. I think Florida State and some of these other schools feel like that they do have recourse. Now, maybe it's a game of chicken, and maybe the ACC calls these schools bluff, and these schools can't do anything about it. But I have a feeling, man, this is more than just kind of saber rattling, as we've used the phrase in the past. I do think that these schools feel like they have some sort of recourse, and we'll have to see what that is.
A twofold thing here, Ira. I'm kind of curious. Okay, so they think maybe on the one hand that they have a means by which to challenge the grant of rights deal. Clearly, that's what you're intimating and what they're intimating, right? That there's a possibility that there's an angle they can come at it with, and they can fight this thing and try to get out. The other one would be is this. Are they just trying to make as much noise as possible until finally the ACC says, you know what, screw it, we're going to lose these guys inevitably. Let's just get a number out of them. Like, does Florida State just say, hey, look, let us know. Is it $600 million? Is it $700? What is the number so that we can go about the process of financing this for the next 30 years and begin our discussions with the SEC?
I mean, I do think there's some negotiations at play here in terms of like some posturing as far as that goes. I don't know that the numbers are that big. I don't think Florida State has any intention of spending hundreds of millions of dollars to get out of this conference. I think you go back to the comments that Peter Collins, the chairman of the board of trustees, made to us a few months ago, and he said we have a pretty good feeling, a pretty good handle of the grant of rights. I know that Florida State and Clemson and possibly other schools, but I know for a fact those two schools have spent a lot of money on attorneys to come to North Carolina to look over all of the documents to figure out exactly what they can do. And, I don't know what the results of that research is. But I will say that, if you listen to some of the messaging from around the conference 3 months ago or 6 months ago or a year ago, it was very strong, especially if you listen to ESPN reporters or different people in the conference, that the grant of rights was binding. There's no way out of it. It's a done deal. I don't know that that's, I've gotten a sense that they've gotten kind of a little softer on that stance. And so, I don't know that Florida State gets out of it. And maybe it's a deal where maybe you push to, you've got enough schools where they want to challenge it, and then maybe that becomes a different legal issue. So, again, I don't know how it's all going to play out. But I think if people think that these schools, FSU, Clemson, Miami, are just playing chicken and are just posturing, I don't know if I believe that. I feel like they think that there's more cards that they have to play.
Yeah, because at this point you'd be better off if you ended up in the Big 12, and that's not something you necessarily want, I don't think, here. But I am kind of curious your thoughts on so if they were fighting for enough teams to make enough noise to maybe get out of this, those teams would be Florida State, Clemson, Miami, North Carolina, I would assume Virginia, Louisville, and who else?
I think NC State's a possibility. I think Virginia Tech's a possibility. I mean, there's definitely some different bedfellows that would be at play. This school might be interested in, if that school's going to go. Georgia Tech is a school that has flirted with the Big Ten before. Virginia's flirted with the Big Ten before. North Carolina, we know, has been coveted by the Big Ten, but the SEC would have an interest in getting in the state of Carolina as well. So there are so many. I think what's different here, and again, going back to whether or not this is just saber rattling, the difference now compared to what it was 10 years ago when Florida State was fighting this battle is it feels like at least there's more options now because the Big Ten has been more aggressive, because the Big Ten and the SEC have kind of created this power struggle, and now it comes down to, okay, who's got the best assets? Now there's a little bit more pressure on the SEC, or certainly the Big Ten has interest in some of these other schools. Whereas I don't know if 10 years ago that was the case. Before the Big Ten went out and got USC and UCLA, that was unfathomable. I don't think anybody expected that to happen. Well, that's a game changer. Same thing with the SEC going and getting Oklahoma and Texas. That was a game changer. So again, I think right now the feeling is everything's on the table now, where it wasn't 10 years ago. And so now schools that maybe were comfortable in the ACC and were just going to ride it out might be now more tempted, especially if they think this thing may fall apart.
Ira, final thing before I let you go, and I appreciate you joining us there on site at Amelia Island for the ACC meetings. I am kind of curious, is there anything else that we're going to be looking to hear about or learn about at these meetings? I know that most of Florida State, and certainly its fan base and everybody who follows college football, are primarily concerned about the issue of the grant of rights and money and whether or not Florida State is getting enough and all of those things. Is there anything else that we should be paying attention to?
Yeah, there'll be other topics discussed. I mean, I do think a big topic is going to be NIL and the transfer portal and some of the policies there, the push to maybe get Congress more involved. You're hearing more and more behind that. And what happens at these meetings is you'll get all the football coaches, the athletic directors, the coaches for basketball, men's and women's basketball, and the athletic directors and the faculty representatives from each school will get together and kind of give their opinions, and they'll try to come with some sort of consensus of what the ACC's position is going to be. So those are some of the big things. I think you'll hear, again, a lot more NIL talk, portal talk, and maybe some scheduling talk, and maybe some, I think a few months ago, Jim Phillips, the commissioner of the conference, gave a directive to the members about who they schedule in football and how to improve their strength of schedule. We haven't spoken to him since then, so I think that'll be a topic as well. And sometimes things come out that we don't expect. So we'll be here for through Wednesday at least, and people should stay tuned to warchant.com for all the latest.
Yeah, absolutely. Ira, when you get a chance, enjoy the beach when you're not working, brother. I will talk to you real soon, and thanks for the work. Appreciate you joining us.
Thanks, Jeff. See you, man.
Yeah, be good, brother.
Your local news now.
Florida Department of Education Commissioner Manny Diaz Jr. sent a letter to Leon County Schools Superintendent Rocky Hanna last month, stating there is probable cause to justify sanctions against Hanna's state educator certificate. The commissioner said in the letter Hanna had a history of defying the law or failing to follow the law with fidelity, along with using his position to politically influence others under his authority. Superintendent Hanna said in a social media post that in consultation with my personal attorney, I have chosen to respond to the Commissioner of Education asking him what he would propose to resolve the matter. I remain optimistic that the commissioner and the decision makers in the Department of Education will realize I have not done the things that they have accused me of. I absolutely have no history of defying the law, nor have I ever suggested to anyone to violate the law or not teach the Florida standards as established by the Board of Education. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 Local News Update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Scattered thunderstorms likely this afternoon. Otherwise, mainly cloudy skies expected. Highs around 91, southerly winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Overcast tonight, scattered thunderstorms likely. Lows dip down to about 69. Cloudy skies with a few peaks of sun tomorrow. Chance for scattered thunderstorms. Highs level off around 87. This report is brought to you by The Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 92.
Choose Hearth and Patio for custom fireplaces, maintenance, outdoor grills, kitchens, fire pits, lighting, and so much more. Check out all of Hearth and Patio's options online at hearthpatiotallahassee.com. Hearth and Patio, they keep the home fires burning.
Clean, renewable energy means fresher air, healthier residents, new green jobs, and a stronger, more resilient community. How we get there is up to you. Share your input today to help shape the Tallahassee of tomorrow. Take the Clean Energy Survey at towgov.com.
My man, Eddie.
Jeff, what's happening, dude?
Bears eating people all over the place. I read another article today. It's the third one in the last month of somebody getting mauled to death by a bear.
Man, bears have their own space. You got to let them have that.
You do. You got to stay clear of bears is what you're saying?
Yes.
I got a question for you. Here you go. If you had to be mauled to death, eaten alive by any animal in the world, which would you choose to eat you alive?
Ooh, I think maybe I'd want, I don't know, longevity time, a mouse.
Just a slow burn.
Slow burn.
This thing just finished the pinky. It's been a month.
I could go to work. I could still do my thing. I could probably live 30 years.
I thought you were going to say great white because it'd be quick, or a grizzly. We went with mouse.
Yeah, mouse.
Okay. Mouse it is. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
Hey, who knows? Maybe we'll get something. Maybe we'll figure it all out at some point here. Lost in all of this is that, Tom, we were spending much of our time last week with the transfer portal stuff and holding our breath and waiting for answers on all these guys. and what Florida State will or will not do. And still waiting. Still waiting.
And how do we feel about this?
Well, which player?
Well, one already said yay to Alabama.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah. Oh, I was thinking we had 3 that we talked about. So the others, Keon Coleman, obviously, wide receiver. So I would tell you that I still feel good. I think every day that goes by is a good day for Florida State when it comes to Keon Coleman. I can't say for certain. I'd like to say for certain, but I just think it bodes well that if Ole Miss pushed their chips to the middle of the table when he was there the last time and gave this great offer and it wasn't enough for him to say yes, it means we're still in the fight. It means that we're, I think, in a position where we are very significant in this. And I wouldn't be surprised if he chose Florida State. That's all I'll say. And could be wrong. You know, he could go elsewhere. There are other people who want his services. This is a 6'4" receiver who catches the ball in traffic and has good hands. He's a difference maker. He had almost 1,000 yards receiving in the Big Ten with that quarterback. These are attributes and skills and accomplishments in the Power 5 that I think a lot of people would really, really want to add to their roster. We're one of them. Obviously, we're still figuring out what the hell we're going to do when it comes to safety. So I don't know. The difference between competing for a championship and or just looking at this as an opportunity to compete for the ACC. That's all that's at stake, Tom. That's that's all we're doing here.
Not much difference.
No.
Honestly, usually you win the ACC. That's good enough. You can just pack it up and go home, right?
Not anymore. So
it never was.
I just think now, I aspire to more, and every day that goes by, I get excited, and I keep thinking, well, there's this, and when you land I shouldn't have used land, but when you grab a Landon Thomas and add him into the mix, and you're thinking about the elevation of rooms and segment groups, and not for this year with Landon, but you get what I'm saying. We're competing with Georgia and competing with Alabama for kids now. We have elevated the level of competition and raised the floor, the quality of players you're bringing in.
Yeah, if you've got a Landon Thomas with a Dre Jacobs and a Hakeem Williams and a couple of these kids that are coming in this year's class at receiver, because there's going to be between 4 and 6 of them. You've got those running backs, an offensive line that was recruited very well and to great depth in the 2022 class. You've got 2023 Lucas Simmons as an anchor of that offensive. I mean, you could see it. You could see these pieces coming together, and it looks very pretty on offense.
Well, it's sustained
You've got to
excellence.
see more pieces on defense that are going to emerge, like defensive end. Linebacker, actually, you might be with Blake Nicholson leading the way. That might have flipped the way that the program is viewed at that position. But you can see these things coming together for the long haul, and it's exciting. Not as exciting, though, about as this year's offense. This year's offense is way more exciting and compelling, especially if Keon comes to town.
Goodness gracious. We've already projected Florida State in our minds to have one of the elite offenses in college football if you added Keon Coleman to it. Goodness. I mean, this is it's a loaded group, my friend. Loaded group. Did you see, and I know it gets fed to us, if you check The Athletic or ESPN or wherever it is you go to kind of do your roundup for stuff. I was reading a story on ESPN, in fact, .com, and they did a ranking the 10 best college football wide receivers heading into 2023. That was the article. Came out today's the 15th, is it not? Yeah. Came out today. And they've already looked at the top 10 quarterbacks heading into 2023. We talked about that. If you don't recall when we talked about that. And again, this is a staff at ESPN putting together this list. Not surprisingly, Caleb Williams was number 1. They had Michael Penix Jr. at number 2. I would have had Drake May, but nonetheless, there's Drake May at 3, Bo Nix at 4, Jordan Travis was number 5. And we like Jordan, I think, more than we like Bo, and probably more than we like Michael Penix, who's also really good, by the way. So, I think you could put Jordan somewhere in that top 5 without question, maybe top 3. Now, as far as receivers go, this is the way the list looked. Not surprisingly, Marvin Harrison Jr., number 1. Really good. Igbokwe for Ohio State. Emeke is easier of the names to say. Number 2, they have a kid who, admittedly, I don't think all of us saw a lot of, but he was on the receiving end of all of those passing yards in Washington. And he had 1,145 yards receiving, 7 touchdowns, was a really good player. He'll be a senior this year. Dorian Singer's the kid at USC who you knew would be on this list. Director Matthew could get on the mic if we wanted him to and talk about Xavier Worthy for Texas, who had 60 receptions, 760 yards, 9 touchdowns a year ago. 9 touchdowns, significant. And then it's Johnny Wilson. And Johnny Wilson behind him. I think you could flip-flop that if you wanted. That's fine. Johnny Wilson had 43 receptions, 879 yards, 5 touchdowns. About Johnny, they wrote, last year Wilson was learning a new system and staff after transferring from Arizona State. He still led the ACC with 22 catches of at least 20 yards or more. Recognizing that there was still more work to do, and specifically mentioning the goal of winning a national title, Wilson decided to forego the NFL draft and return to FSU. At 6'7", 235 pounds, Wilson is a tall target for Heisman hopeful Jordan Travis, presents a mismatch for opposing defenses. They did talk about where he had to get better, primarily catching the football and route running, and they have a nice quote from Ron Dugans in there saying that he's worked awfully hard to get better in those categories and continues to improve every day. So that's something to look at. We'll come back, wrap it up. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Hi, this is Jamie McClenny from Trek Financial in Tallahassee. Managing downside risk in your portfolio is one of the biggest challenges that you'll face in retirement. Trillions of dollars in stimulus from the Federal Reserve and D.C. politicians, combined with zero interest rates, have propped up financial markets since the financial crisis ended in 2009. The Fed recently ended quantitative easing and has started to raise interest rates at a time when the global economy was already slowing. Have you considered what another 50% correction in the stock market would do to your retirement plan? If you're concerned about where this all might be headed and would like to find out about the potential benefits of an active risk management strategy for your portfolio, give me a call at 850-900-5200 and schedule a time for a review of your portfolio from an active risk management perspective.
Make Jamie your first call for a second opinion. Investment advisory services are offered through Trek Financial, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
Hey, this is your stomach speaking. It's time to eat again. We met deadlines and closed out the workday like a boss. The last thing you want to do is cook dinner. Even worse, pick up any fast food garbage. We need something good, something local. We need foodiestakeout.com. An all-star lineup of local spots like Smitty's Tap House, El Jalisco, Terry's Cafe, Hangar 38, Metro Deli, and more. It's so easy. Just choose pickup or delivery, and let's eat the good stuff. I'm growling already. Visit foodiestakeout.com.
You worked hard all day and are settled in for a little downtime by relaxing in your hammock located in a nice shady spot in your beautiful North Florida backyard. Then one gets you, then another, and another, and another. Mosquitoes have you sprinting to the back door, and you just pray none get inside as you open it. That's pretty much the story here this time of year. Mosquitoes are ruining our time in our yards. They're pretty much taking over when the sun starts going down. Paul's Termite and Pest Control has an inexpensive solution to this persistent problem. Paul's has a program which treats the grounds, flower beds, shrubs, and standing water. Paul's program controls mosquitoes year-round, which means you can take back control of your yard. Not only are mosquitoes a physical irritation, they also pose potential health risk to people and pets. Enjoy your yard again, mosquito-free. Call Paul's Termite and Pest Control today for your free consultation.
For the elimination of any pest, call Paul. We'll get them all.
Visit Paul's online at callpauls.com. Callpauls.com.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus, happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
The Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
The show, Tom and I are going to stick around the studio and be able to expand on this conversation that I'm having with you right now. Ross Dellinger tweeted, the next wave of conference realignment is about survival. Can the Big 12, Pac-12, and the ACC make it? How the war for the West, Pac-12 versus Big 12, may shape the college sports landscape. In this, they go forward, and he says about a tweet Brett McMurphy had that I think we've probably retweeted now, and it's been posted, I'm sure.
We'll put it up on the screen for those. I see that this conversation's been going on in the chat for a little bit, but for everybody who's watching now.
So Clemson, FSU, Miami, North Carolina, NC State, Virginia, and Virginia Tech are the Magnificent Seven ACC schools. Sources told Action Network these schools, as Ross Dellinger reported, have met in the past several months with lawyers examining the grant of rights to determine just how unbreakable it really is. The ACC deal runs through 2036. You guys know that. So, by the way, anything stand out about that list? Because I can tell you what really does, and you're going to echo this, I'm sure. But here you go. Clemson, FSU, Miami, North Carolina, NC State, Virginia, Virginia Tech. No surprises. You need an eighth? Yeah, Louisville.
Yeah.
You're not mentioned there. What are we doing here? Louisville's got no real affinity, love for, and unbreakable ties to the ACC.
Here's the question I have, though. Does that mean that these Magnificent Seven, quote unquote, would all get invites to the Power 2? Is that what's implied here?
Well, what's implied here is that these seven are unhappy and are looking for a way to break up the ACC and maybe fend for themselves. I don't know what Virginia thinks or what Virginia Tech thinks. My guess is, and I think we could all make guesses here, that North Carolina and Virginia would probably be very interested in either the SEC or the Big Ten. I think the Big Ten would be very interested in Virginia. I think they might be interested in North Carolina. I think the SEC would be interested in North Carolina as well. Also Virginia, for that matter. So a bidding war, who knows? I know that FSU and Clemson are sought after by the SEC. Then from there, it gets interesting. Does NC State say, hey, look, man, this is a sinking ship, and what we're describing here for the rest of these teams is it's rats on a ship, and we got to land somewhere. We got to find dry land. Dry land could be the Big 12. I mean, they're all going to have better deals than what you currently have in the ACC right now as is.
Yeah, this is why I'm saying, are all of these institutions getting an invite from the two power conferences? Because if the Big 12 was a potential destination that NC State looked at and said, yeah, that's better than where I am right now, or Virginia Tech looked at and said, you know what, that's better than where I'm at right now, then Louisville by nature would already be privy to that and say yes to that. So I'm just saying Louisville's absence from this list tells me that maybe these seven are all potentially getting poached by the Power 2, which, wow, NC State, you're the luckiest team in the country not named Rutgers, if that's the case.
Or Maryland. I'm just going to tell you, because I needed to look at Ross Dellinger's tweet, and, then you venture into Twitter, and then you read the comments underneath the tweet. It didn't take long before somebody made me laugh, and I can't repeat what they wrote, but it was great. Can we change it to the sick of this blank 7? I was like, well played, sir. Oh, man, that's good. Tom and I are going to talk more about this and more in-depthly about this, and we'll post the video right after the show.
And there'll be an audio podcast version of it as well on the JCS feed. So
yeah.
For those of you that like what we do, from 1 to 3, we don't have enough time. Brett needs to tweet these things and everybody in the 1 o'clock hour.
I wish I had more time. What's it from? He knows.
Yeah, it's Daniel Day, right?
No.
That's not Daniel Day saying that?
No, it's Man on Fire. It's underneath the bridge, and it's about to go kaboom. I wish you had more time. Yeah, it's just as he's talking to him about their situation. Probables fired up. Brought to you by our friends at Power Mill.
It's time for, how you say, with the pitching, probables?
Mets, Nats, David Peterson, Patrick Corbin, Angels, Orioles, Shohei Ohtani, Grayson Rodriguez. It's amazing Ira could do his job today after the devastating shutout the Pirates laid on the Orioles yesterday, 4-0.
Not just screwing Mitch Keller.
That's domination right now.
How many strikeouts in 3 starts?
3 starts on it.
It's like 39?
It's over. Yeah, I think maybe more than 40, actually.
He's the third Pittsburgh Pirates pitcher ever to do that.
My man Mitch Keller turned the corner at the end of last year. Yanks, Jays, Jimmy Cordero, Alek Manoah. Mariners, Red Sox, George Kirby, Tanner Houck. Brewers, Cardinals, Freddie Peralta, Jack Flaherty. Only Flaherty. Braves, Rangers, Charlie Morton, Cody Bradford. Cubs, Stros, Jameson Taillon, Framber Valdez. Reds, Rockies, Hunter Green, Connor Siebold. Good name. D-backs, A's, Merrill Kelly, Drew Rasinski. We got the Royals and the Padres, Brad Keller, Michael Waka. Phillies, Giants, Connor Brogdon, Alex Wood. And Twins, Dodgers, Pablo Lopez, Noah Syndergaard. And that is a look at those that shall reside on the bump. Yeah, the expansion. Tell me, what do we got? Seconds, minutes, 30?
Got minutes. 3 and change.
How do the Big 12, Pac-12, and ACC keep up while generating millions less than the SEC and the Big 10? Some believe all three of them cannot coexist successfully. I agree with you, Ross Dellinger. I've had Ross on the show when I did a bunch of Sirius XM college football stuff. He was always a good guest. Always a good guy to have
Buttoned
on.
up, knew of which he
stuff.
spoke.
Yeah, and he understood how to do radio. He got it. It was fun.
This is fascinating. I look forward to expanding the thoughts in just a couple of moments here. But this is a calculated leak. This is what happens before the big stuff happens. And I'm not trying to be...
buddy, yeah.
It's not clickbait.
Chum the waters, baby.
When you have these reporters dropping these notes and then one agrees with the other and they're in different outlets, this is interesting.
Oh, he's right over there. Yeah, I said the same thing, by the way. Everybody wants their just due.
I think when we have a couple of minutes to breathe, take this all in, and then react to it, this is monumental news. This is big. You're putting 7 programs' names to the hunt for independence while they are on the ground talking to each other in a ballroom where Ira's sitting outside of in Amelia Island. Awkward in that ballroom.
Covering it for warchant.com by the second. 2 weeks ago, writes Ross Dellinger, inside a lavish resort in Phoenix, down a long hallway and 2 flights of stairs, executives from 2 different conferences inched closer to further altering the landscape of college sports. They spoke of exclusively expansion. Let's go. Here we go. Come on. Let's get with the getting. It's time. Not another year. Not another year.
We're completely, there's upheaval with the schedule. We're going to play LSU, and then we don't know who else between them and Florida.
We should all wear shirts. Not another year. Not one more.
That's on the back. Not one more.
Not one more. Often sparring publicly with one another, the 2 sets of league administrators separately met behind closed doors like a pair of boxers secretly preparing for the big fight against one another.
More like professional wrestlers going over the moves.
Yeah,
and the
I was going to say, the sequencing.
We've got to make this look convincing, guys.
So you had the Pac-12 and the Big 12 in that particular meeting, by the way. And I guess they're not as concerned. Certainly the SEC is like, nope. We were not at that meeting. We are not fretting or speaking with, certainly not tampering with the ACC or anybody else for that matter. We've got to get the free and clear notice, and then we are ready to go. That'd be cool. That'd be really cool. And, it was suggested the last time we had a lengthy conversation about expansion and the shakeup in college football that it didn't have to be that the ACC came to an agreement or that the SEC extended an invite or the Big Ten. It could just be that there was an alteration elsewhere, which led the Big Two to decide, okay, we have to act now. The shakeups are happening elsewhere. If we want these teams, any of them, they're starting to get together and have discussions now.
Yeah.
Do we need to act and get the message out?
It's like that old T-Row price commercial. It's like, what does the squid prices in Japan have to do with the grain prices in America?
Right.
I'm thinking that maybe the Pac-12 is close to getting an agreement and a TV deal, and they're looking at the Big Ten. They're saying, look, if I'm an institution that can get out, I'm about to sign something. You want it? Come on. Can we just speed this along?
Let's go.
And so maybe the SEC knows that expansion's happening, and those are the dominoes.
One would think that if it is, the Big Ten is pursuing both Oregon and Washington, wouldn't you think? I mean, that would make the most amount of sense. or Utah, I suppose. Good work out of you. Good work, Director Matthew. Be well, everybody. And don't forget, we'll be posting a video soon with further discussion of this very matter post-show. Be well.